It's time to dive back into the twisted world of You Season 4, Part 1. Buckle up, because London turned out to be anything but the clean slate our favorite stalker hoped for. We open with a flashback. Joe Goldberg tracks down Marianne in London, but when she calls him a murderer, something in him shifts and he lets her go. But freedom comes at a cost. Enter Elliot Tannenberg, a fixer on Love's father's payroll. He offers Joe a new identity in exchange for one final job: kill Marianne and tie up the loose ends. Instead, Joe lifts her necklace, sends Elliot a photo, and fakes the hit. Now living as Jonathan Moore, a quiet university English professor, Joe tries to keep a low profile. But trouble finds him fast in the form of Kate Galvin Sharp, guarded and dating Malcolm Harding, Joe's smug fellow professor and neighbor. After Joe saves Kate from two muggers, Malcolm extends a thanks in the form of an invite to the ultra-exclusive Sundry House. There, Joe rubs shoulders with London's elite and crosses paths with rising author and mayoral hopeful Rise Montrose. But the night takes a dark turn. Joe drinks heavily, blacks out, and wakes up in his apartment to a nightmare: Malcolm stabbed to death and missing a finger. Believing he killed him, Joe scrambles to clean up the mess and hides the body. The next day, Kate invites Joe to dinner. But just as he's on his way, anonymous texts roll in from Malcolm's real killer thanking Joe for the cleanup. Piecing together clues from Malcolm's ledger, Joe suspects Simon, another member of the elite circle, may have murdered Malcolm to cover up a blackmail scheme. But that theory dies fast, literally when Simon is found dead, minus an ear. Back at home, Joe finds his wall plastered with newspaper clippings about his past. The killer knows who he really is. Soon after, Malcolm's severed finger is sent to the press, and the mysterious figure earns a name: the Eat the Rich Killer. Digging deeper, Joe learns his student Nadia had a sexual relationship with Malcolm. At Simon's funeral, the killer demands Joe kill Kate. Joe tails her instead, trying to keep her safe. Though she's frosty at first, Kate eventually lets down her guard. The two hook up, unaware they're being watched by Vic. The killer taunts Joe, claiming he gets off on murder. Joe plays along and offers to finish Kate. The killer sets a meeting. But before it can happen, Phoebe calls Joe to Sundry House, where the police are waiting with questions. Trying to stay ahead of the madness, Joe joins Phoebe and the crew for a weekend at her family's lavish country estate. There, Joe clashes with Roald Walker, Burton Kate's childhood friend, and as Joe soon learns, a possessive creep who's obsessed with her. Kate later reveals her estranged father as a powerful investor whose dirty dealings she wants nothing to do with. Joe starts to wonder, is he falling for her? He rushes off to find her only to walk in on Kate, kneeling beside Gemma's lifeless body, knife in hand. Kate swears she didn't do it. Joe believes her. And once again, he steps in this time to help her hide the body, stashing it in a barn while the rest of the house parties on, blissfully unaware. Kate confronts Joe about his uncanny skill at covering up murders. Pressed for answers, Joe comes clean. He admits to disposing of Malcolm's body and warns her that someone's trying to frame them both. Kate hurries off to tell Phoebe to send the servant staff away, hoping to protect everyone. While she's gone, Roald stumbles upon Joe in the barn. Seizing the opportunity, Roald drags Joe in front of the others, accusing him of being the killer. Joe pleads his innocence, but Roald, playing judge and executioner, gives Joe a head start before coming after him with a shotgun. Joe manages to subdue Roald in the woods, but before he can catch his breath, he's captured by the real killer, Rhys. Turns out, Rhys, who clawed his way up from poverty, has been targeting the rich out of sheer hatred. He locks Joe and Roald in a dungeon and demands Joe kill Roald to take the fall for the murders. When Joe refuses, Rhys sets the dungeon ablaze and walks away. Joe escapes with Roald, and Kate comes to their rescue. Joe keeps Rhys's identity a secret for now, vowing to bring him down on his own terms. Rhys, meanwhile, isn't slowing down. He announces his run for mayor of London and turns up the pressure on Joe, forcing him to find a scapegoat. To drive the point home, he plants Simon's severed ear in Joe's freezer. Joe nearly frames Connie, a struggling addict from the Oxford Circle, but backs off when Connie shows signs of wanting to turn his life around. The next morning, Joe tries to end. it all, jumping off a bridge. But fate or something crueler intervenes. He's rescued by the police and wakes up in a hospital. There, Kate tells him, she's now inherited all her father's assets, and she's already cleaned up Joe's mess, covering for him in Riz's murder. With nothing left to lose, Joe embraces the darkness inside him. He murders Edward and frames Nadia for the crime, ensuring her silence. As life moves on, Sophie and Princess Blessing buy Sundry House, where Roald and Connie keep up their old ways unchanged. Lady Phoebe, after completing rehab, moves to Thailand to teach children, finally finding peace. Across the ocean, in Paris, Marianne reads a news article about Joe, safe and hidden with her daughter Juliet. Meanwhile, Joe returns to New York City with Kate by his side. With her running her father's empire and reshaping Joe's public image as love's innocent, escaped victim, dangerous than ever. And if you want more breakdowns, theories, and recaps of your favorite shows, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts.